Gene Hackman, the reluctant legend. Gene Hackman was one of Hollywood's most versatile and respected actors whose career spanned over 4 decades. Known for his authentic performances and remarkable range, Hackman brought a raw intensity and everyman quality to his roles that resonated with audiences worldwide. From his Oscar-winning performances in The French Connection and Unforgiven, to his comedic turns in films like The Royal Tenenbaums, Hackman established himself as one of the greatest actors of his generation. Despite his fame, he remained humble and focused on his craft, eventually retiring from acting to pursue writing and a quieter life away from Hollywood's spotlight. Eugene Allen Hackman was born on January 30, 1930, in San Bernardino, California, to Anna Lyda Elizabeth and Eugene Ezra Hackman. His early years were marked by instability as his family moved frequently before settling in Danville, Illinois. They lived in the house of his English-born maternal grandmother, Beatrice, while his father operated the printing press for the local newspaper, the Commercial News. Hackman's childhood took a painful turn when he was just 13 years old. His father abandoned the family, leaving without even saying goodbye. "He just waved to me one morning as I was on my way to school," Hackman later recalled. "That was the last I saw of him for years." This abandonment would leave a lasting impact on young Gene, influencing both his personal relationships and the characters he would later portray on screen. At 16, Hackman made a decision that would shape his future. Lying about his age, he enlisted in the United States Marine Corps, serving 4.5 years as a field radio operator. His military service took him to China, Hawaii, and Japan, providing him with experiences and perspectives that would later inform his acting. After his discharge in 1951, Hackman moved to New York City, working various jobs while trying to figure out his path in life. Hackman's journey to acting began in 1956, when he was already 26 years old. Considerably later than most aspiring actors. He enrolled at the Pasadena Playhouse in California, where he met fellow student Dustin Hoffman. In what would later seem like a cosmic joke, both Hackman and Hoffman were voted least likely to succeed by their classmates. The Playhouse even gave Hackman the lowest score they had ever awarded a student. Rather than being discouraged, Hackman used this rejection as motivation. "It was more psychological warfare," he later explained, "because I wasn't going to let those fuckers get me down. I insisted with myself that I would continue to do whatever it took to get a job." After the Pasadena Playhouse, Hackman moved to New York City to pursue acting more seriously. He shared apartments with Dustin Hoffman and Robert Duvall at various times, forming friendships that would last throughout their careers. To support himself between acting jobs, Hackman worked at a Howard Johnson's restaurant. During this period, he encountered an instructor from the Pasadena Playhouse who told him that his job as a doorman proved he wouldn't amount to anything. "I think, if you're really interested in acting, there is a part of you that relishes the struggle," Hackman reflected years later. "It's a narcotic in the way that you are trained to do this work, and nobody will let you do it, so you're a little bit nuts. You lie to people, you cheat, you do whatever it takes to get an audition, get a job." Hackman's persistence eventually paid off. He began landing small roles in television series and off-Broadway productions. His film debut came in 1964 with Lilith. where he appeared alongside Warren Beatty. This connection would prove crucial, as Beatty later recommended Hackman for the role of Buck Barrow in Arthur Penn's groundbreaking film Bonnie and Clyde, 1967. The role of Buck Barrow marked Hackman's breakthrough in Hollywood. To prepare for his death scene, Hackman rehearsed by running around his motel room on all fours, trying to emulate the movements of a bull that had been wounded in the back of the neck and is dying. His dedication paid off, earning him his first Academy Award nomination for Best Supporting Actor. Director Arthur Penn, who helmed Bonnie and Clyde, taught Hackman valuable lessons about film acting. "Arthur taught me to act to the camera," Hackman said. "In theater, you project outward, but in film, you need to let the camera come to you, to capture those small moments that reveal character." Hackman's career truly took off in the 1970s, beginning with his iconic role as Detective Jimmy Popeye Doyle in William Friedkin's The French Connection, 1971. The role presented challenges for Hackman, who was uncomfortable with the character's racist attitudes. He reportedly quit on the second day of production, only to be coaxed back by Friedkin. Hackman struggled to find his way into the character until he observed the real-life inspiration for Doyle, Eddie Egan, during a ride-along. "I noticed him dipping a cruller into a cup of coffee and then pitching it over his head," Hackman recalled. "There was something in his attitude that made everything very clear. This guy doesn't give a shit about anything except his work." His portrayal of the relentless, unorthodox detective earned Hackman his first Academy Award for Best Actor. The film's famous car chase scene became legendary, though Hackman later joked that maybe the car should have won the Oscar. Following this success, Hackman delivered another memorable performance in Francis Ford Coppola's The Conversation, 1974. Playing surveillance expert Harry Call. The role was a departure for Hackman, requiring him to portray a quiet, introverted character consumed by paranoia and guilt. "Harry Call was completely against type for me," Hackman noted. "He's quiet, a bit of an outcast, and a schlub. I don't think he smiles once in the entire film." This performance showcased Hackman's versatility and earned him critical acclaim, though the film was overshadowed by Coppola's The Godfather Part II, released the same year. While Hackman's career flourished, his personal life faced challenges. In 1956, he had married Faye Maltese, with whom he had 3 children: Christopher, Elizabeth, and Leslie. However, the demands of his career often kept him away from his family for months at a time. You spend so many years wanting desperately to be recognized as having the talent, and then when you're starting to be offered these parts, it's very tough to turn anything down. Hackman confessed to the New York Times, "Even though I had a family, I took jobs that would separate us for 3 or 4 months at a time. The temptations in that, the money and recognition, it was too much for the poor boy in me. I wasn't able to handle that." The strain eventually took its toll on his marriage. "I didn't handle it very well, really," Hackman admitted in an interview with Larry King. "I took care of my family. You know, my family's never wanted for anything, but because I was so enamored of the Hollywood of old, you know, the glamour of that, although I never involved myself in that, I was really taken with that and the fact that I was part of that." Hackman and Maltese divorced in 1986 after 30 years of marriage. In 1991, he married classical pianist Betsy Arakawa, with whom he remained until their tragic deaths in 2025. Throughout the 1970s and 1980s, Hackman continued to deliver powerful performances across various genres. He starred in disaster film The Poseidon Adventure, 1972, played a Polish general in the war epic A Bridge Too Far, 1977, and brought charisma and wit to the role of supervillain Lex Luthor in Superman, 1978. One of Hackman's most beloved roles came in 1986 with Hoosiers, where he played basketball coach Norman Dale, a man seeking redemption through coaching a small-town Indiana high school team. The film resonated with audiences and showcased Hackman's ability to convey both vulnerability and strength. In 1988, Hackman earned another Academy Award nomination for his role as FBI agent Rupert Anderson in Mississippi Burning. The film, set in the racially charged atmosphere of the 1960s Deep South, allowed Hackman to display his trademark intensity while navigating complex moral territory. Perhaps his most acclaimed performance came in Clint Eastwood's revisionist western Unforgiven, 1992, where Hackman played the sadistic sheriff Little Bill Daggett. His portrayal of corrupted authority earned him his second Academy Award, this time for Best Supporting Actor. What makes Hackman's Little Bill so memorable is that perfect blend of charm and menace. Film critic Roger Ebert wrote, "He can be jovial one moment and brutally violent the next, all while believing he's upholding the law and doing what's right." Throughout his career, Hackman developed a reputation as a consummate professional who elevated the performances of those around him. Morgan Freeman, who worked with Hackman on Unforgiven, described him as a generous performer and a man whose gifts elevated everyone's work. Director Wes Anderson, who cast Hackman as Royal Tenenbaum in The Royal Tenenbaums, 2001, had to persuade the reluctant actor to take the role. Anderson was so determined to have Hackman play Royal that he refused to consider alternatives. The persistence paid off, as Hackman delivered one of his most memorable late-career performances. Bill Murray, who co-starred in The Royal Tenenbaums, recalled Hackman's intimidating presence on set. "I was scared of him," Murray admitted. "I really was. I was terrified. He's a powerful guy, but he's also a brilliant actor, and he was perfect for that role." Denzel Washington, who worked with Hackman on Crimson Tide, 1995, spoke of the actor's commitment to authenticity. "Gene doesn't act, he just is," Washington said. "There's never a false note. You're not watching someone perform, you're watching someone live." Hackman was known for his intense preparation and occasional volatility on set. During the filming of The French Connection, director William Friedkin deliberately antagonized Hackman to elicit the raw energy needed for Popeye Doyle. In one scene, Friedkin fired a gun without warning to capture Hackman's genuine startled reaction. On the set of Unforgiven, Hackman and Eastwood had different approaches to filmmaking. Eastwood was known for his efficiency, often preferring first takes, while Hackman liked to explore different interpretations of scenes. Despite these differences, they developed a mutual respect that led to one of the most powerful on-screen dynamics in Western cinema. During the filming of The Royal Tenenbaums, Hackman reportedly clashed with director Wes Anderson over the film's stylized approach. According to co-star Angelica Houston, Hackman once became so frustrated that he told Anderson, "I'm not going to do this scene again," to which Anderson quietly replied, "Well, you're going to have to." Despite the tension, Hackman's performance as Royal Tenenbaum is considered one of his finest. Actor Bobby Cannavale, who worked with Hackman on The Station Agent, shared a revealing story. "We were shooting a scene, and I was nervous working with him. After a take, he pulled me aside and said, 'You know what I do when I'm nervous? I focus on one specific detail of the other actor, maybe their eyes or the way they hold their hands, and it grounds me in the moment.' That simple advice changed my approach to acting." As Hackman entered his 70s, he continued to work steadily, appearing in films like The Firm, 1993, Crimson Tide, 1995, Get Shorty, 1995, The Birdcage, 1996, and Enemy of the State, 1998. His final decade in film saw him exploring more comedic roles, including his Golden Globe-winning performance in The Royal Tenenbaums. In 2004, at the age of 74, Hackman announced his retirement from acting after starring in the comedy Welcome to Mooseport. When asked about his decision, Hackman explained, "I haven't held a press conference to announce retirement, but yes, I'm not going to act any longer. I've been told not to say that over the last few years, in case some real wonderful part comes up, but I really don't want to do it any longer." He later elaborated that the physical and emotional strain of acting had become too demanding. "The straw that broke the camel's back was actually a stress test that I took in New York," Hackman revealed. "The doctor advised me that my heart wasn't in the kind of condition that I should be putting it under any stress." Following his retirement from acting, Hackman devoted himself to writing novels, often historical fiction. He co-authored several books with underwater archaeologist Daniel Lenihan, including Wake of the Perdido Star, Justice for None, and Escape from Andersonville. Hackman and his second wife, Betsy Arakawa, settled in Santa Fe, New Mexico, where they lived a quiet, private life. Their neighbors described them as extremely reclusive, rarely seen outside their gated home. One neighbor, James Everett, told the New York Times, "They have a gate, and we have a gate, and we just have never even seen each other." Despite his reclusiveness, Hackman maintained some connections to his community. Bud Hamilton, another resident of Santa Fe, shared that Hackman would donate a painting every year to the Cancer Foundation for New Mexico to auction after learning of Bud's involvement in the charity. Hackman was an avid cyclist and remained physically active well into his 90s. Helen Dufresne, who lived nearby, recalled seeing him in 2017 with a mountain bike in the back of his truck, looking fit, just like he did in Crimson Tide. In addition to writing and cycling, Hackman enjoyed painting and was known to be a skilled harmonica player who would sometimes entertain cast and crew during breaks on movie sets. Gene Hackman's influence on American cinema is immeasurable. David Fincher described him as the greatest motion picture actor of all time, citing his effortlessness and well-traveled humanness. His ability to disappear into roles while maintaining an authentic presence made him a model for generations of actors. Film critic Roger Ebert wrote, "Hackman never seems to be acting. He seems to be thinking, and the thoughts are visible on his face. And we know what they are." This quality of lived-in authenticity set Hackman apart from his contemporaries and established him as one of the most respected actors in Hollywood. His range was extraordinary, From the manic energy of Popeye Doyle to the quiet paranoia of Harry Call, from the menacing authority of Little Bill Daggett to the charming con man Royal Tenenbaum, few actors could move so convincingly between drama, comedy, and action, bringing the same level of commitment and credibility to each role. Gene Hackman's journey from a troubled childhood to Hollywood legend embodies the American dream. His late start in acting, the rejections he faced, and his eventual triumph through sheer determination and talent make his story all the more inspiring. Despite his success, Hackman remained humble about his achievements. When asked how he would like to be remembered, he simply said, "I don't think about legacy, I just hope people remember me as someone who tried to do good work." On February 26, 2025, Gene Hackman and his wife Betsy Arakawa were found dead in their Santa Fe home, along with one of their dogs. Investigators determined that Hackman had died around February 18 from heart disease complicated by advanced Alzheimer's disease, about a week after Arakawa died from hantavirus pulmonary syndrome. The world lost not just a great actor, but a man who brought truth and humanity to every character he portrayed. As Morgan Freeman said in his Oscar tribute, Hackman won the hearts of film lovers all over the world. His legacy lives on through his remarkable body of work, which continues to inspire and move audiences with its authenticity, power, and depth. In the words of his daughter Leslie, who spoke after his death, he was loved and admired by millions around the world for his brilliant acting career, but to us, he was always just Dad and Grandpa. We will miss him sorely and are devastated by the loss.